Hi everyone, this is Paula Harriss. I wanted to take a few minutes and introduce myself and talk about coaching, what it is and what to expect in a coaching program. So I hope you'll join me for a few minutes here just to discuss the options that you have and a little bit about myself. I got into dentistry when I was 40. Now I know I don't look like I'm 40 yet, but that's beside the point. My dentist asked me to come work for him, and I said no for about 3 months. I'm like, I don't want to work for you. I don't like dentists. I've had lots of dental treatment, and why would I want to come work in your office? So after 3 months, he kept asking me, and I said yes. And, I fell in love with it. Now, 40 years old, I was a single mom with 5 girls at home. And I did not know how to type. I did not know how to use a computer. I felt very inadequate, and I did a lot of things the wrong way. So I would not want you to think that I'm perfect by any means, because I'm certainly not. I was kind of an emotional wreck at the time, and I really, really appreciate the opportunity that my dentist gave me to find a new career for myself. Certainly wasn't a degree that I had. I had a degree in deaf education working with the hearing impaired. So this was out of context for what I was trained for. So in the beginning, yes, lots of mistakes. I was trained, very little training actually. Fill the schedule was kind of what I was told to do. And so, yeah, I did. I put 2 root canals side by side, and there was no blank space on the schedule, and that kind of thing. He said, collect account. So I called his relatives and asked them to pay. I didn't do my research. I didn't know they were his relatives. And I called people to come in. I called 5-year-olds. I called a deaf person, actually. I called someone who had passed away. So I did a lot of things the wrong way. I just want you to know that. And I was so embarrassed about not being able to use a computer or type that I bought a computer for myself. And I also bought Mario Teaches Typing and taught myself how to type. It's kind of silly, but it worked. So I did a lot of things the wrong way. I went to some training, and they invited me to be a coach, and I was shocked. I'm like, are you kidding me? I'm the one who gets emotional, who makes all these mistakes. I'm too loud in the office. And, it was such a blessing because I really believe that was God's plan for my life. And I enjoy helping people in so many levels of coaching, not just in dentistry, but other businesses. Dentistry is my niche. I do some life coaching as well. And as you can see here, I've been trained with the John Maxwell team, which is a great honor. Was in their founding circle program back in 2011 when they first started training coaches. So it was a great honor for me to be a part of that. Over the years, it's been over 20 years now. I've been helping teams around the country and even out of the country. And what a blessing it is to work with you and support you in what you're looking for. So, a lot of people are really tired of the results they're getting. They're feeling stuck. Ever been there? I know I was there for sure. I had a lot to learn. I worked in a fee-for-service practice. I worked in a solo practice. I worked in multi-location. I worked in a practice that had 16 treatment rooms and about 6 doctors coming in and out. And we had a wonderful practice. And that doctor mentored me. One of my mantras is personal growth precedes professional growth. And that was certainly true for me. I appreciate the fact that the dentist I work for took an interest in me as a person and helped me develop. Because when I began to deal with my personal growth, I was able to help the practice grow. You have team members, or maybe you listening, you come in the office and you have a lot of stuff going on in your personal life, and it kind of stops you from focusing on what you're supposed to be doing during the day and giving it your full attention. So I truly believe in personal growth preceding professional growth. And I know you need systems. You really need systems. And it's easy to blame a person when something goes wrong, but why don't we take a look at the system first and see what's really happening with that system before we start blaming people? And that's really the difference in leadership and management. Management is about the systems and about the task, and then leadership is about the people. So if you have good systems and then something is not happening, then we shift to leadership and figure out why. But typically, we're blaming a person before we start looking at the systems to see where something might have been able to happen better, or maybe we need to tweak the system, find other ways of doing it. So I enjoy helping people where they're stuck. I really feel that's part of my purpose. Have you ever been there? Maybe you're there now. So that's one of my most passionate things about coaching. So I like to know what you want to accomplish, and I love this quote by Eleanor Roosevelt of what could we accomplish if we knew we couldn't fail? That was one of the questions my doctor asked me when I decided to go full time with coaching. He said, "What would you do if you couldn't fail?" I said, "Well, that's a no-brainer. I would coach." He said, "Well, then that's what you need to do." And he was right. He was right. It was actually because of him that I was able to become a coach. I would have never seen that for myself. So I'm very grateful, eternally grateful for that. So I really enjoy finding out what it is that you want to accomplish first. Where are you stuck? What are the places that need the most focus? I'm not cookie cutter in that, well, we have to start here and then we can go here. And no, you can't have that yet because you haven't bought that section or you haven't attended this program. I'm really about, let's just start where you are. Let's just start where you are. And then we'll build from there. Kind of like you do with a patient. They come in and just start where they are. They're coming in with a toothache. Well, you're going to start there. You're not going to start with their smile when they're hurting. So that's kind of the way I look at it in coaching. So I want to know what you want and what are the main things that need to happen for your team. What are your goals? What's your vision? This is another thing that has really interested me over the years. People will read a book and they'll go, I want my practice to look like that. I want my practice to look like Dr. Jones over here. And he wrote a book about it. He was successful, so that's what we're going to do. Well, maybe that was right for Dr. Jones' practice, and maybe it's not right for you, or maybe pieces of that is right for you. So you've got to figure out what is your vision. It's not necessarily copying what someone else has done, although I'm a big fan of copying genius, but you've got to make sure it's right for who you are and what you want for your practice. So sometimes we have to identify. We're pretty good at identifying what we don't want. We don't like cancellations, for example, or we don't like it that the collections aren't happening or production is down. But what do we want? I have team members who tell me all the time about scheduling, for example. Well, I know what it's like when it's not right because we hear about it, but I'm not necessarily sure what the doctor wants. So sometimes we have to sit down and clearly identify. Being clear is one of the most difficult things we have to do in coaching and leadership, at being a team member, instructing someone else, getting clarity. Clarity creates speed. Have you ever noticed that? When you get really clear, think about buying a car. You're looking at all these different cars, all these models, and it's like confusing. And then you land on, I think I want this. All of a sudden, it shows up. And you've made that decision, and before you know it, you got a car. That's the way it is with things we need to work on in our personal life, in our professional life. Let's just get clear. What is it we really want? Instead of focusing on what we don't want all the time, let's focus on what we do want. All right, so what are the areas of coaching? I've narrowed it down to about 7 here. There may be more. And like I said, I'm very flexible. And we don't have to go in this order by any means. This is just a sample list. There are your foundation topics, which are what we were just saying, vision, purpose, what do you really want, who are you, considering your self-worth, how you feel about yourself, how you think about that. That has a huge bearing on how you perform, if you've noticed that. Case presentation. There's a lot to that. There are several pieces and parts. Your verbal skills, your systems, of course, What research are you getting on the phone? Then your team development. Do you have the right team? Do you have some leaky life preservers? In other words, they have great skills, but they're pulling the team down with their attitude. How are you addressing that? Are you just hoping it'll go away? That's what a lot of people think, is maybe it'll just go away. Do you have a lot of turnover in your practice? That's going to slow you down with your vision and accomplishing the things you want. So let's take a look at some of these things together in developing your team and what do we really need in that area. Then your practice management. That might come with reports and tracking and your overhead and your practice stats as far as reports from your practice management software, but also your profit and loss statement. Are you taking home the money that you need to be taking home? Do you really know your business? A lot of doctors will tell me, well, I just know when I have money in the checking account and when I don't. That's not good stewardship, really. And if you're just pushing your team to produce more, collect more, produce more, collect more, they're going to think you're all about the money, when really you're just trying to make ends meet. A lot of teams don't realize the overhead the doctors have. And so when we're looking in practice management, we're looking at where are we in a healthy range in our overhead, in our expenses? Where are we not in a healthy range? And what can we do about it? A lot of doctors tell me, well, I get all these reports, but I don't know what they mean and I don't know what to do about them. So we'll work together with that. Then we have marketing. Marketing is such a fun subject. I was the marketing director in our practice, and marketing just keeps changing. I guess maybe that's one of the things I love about it. It's an experiment. What worked last time may not work this time. And with the internet and social media and all that goes on out there, it's constantly changing. So marketing is an awesome team project. It's a morale booster. You don't have to spend a lot of money to market your practice, and it can really be fun. Number 6, the seamless team. Now, this is an interesting concept. Some of you have heard about this. This is my little title for the cross-trained team. So in the practice I worked in, everyone was cross-trained. We had people checking out in the back. We had money collecting in the back. We had scheduling in the back. I was the only person up front. I worked in a fee-for-service practice for a while, which was no insurance contracts. We didn't accept assignment. So that's a dream for a lot of people. For a lot of people, that's a no way, Jose. And so we're not going to do that if you don't want to do that. But if you're interested in, having responsibilities for each team member, but not necessarily we're stuck in a job description. So we can talk more about that. And then lastly, I have the area of life coaching, which is kind of an umbrella over all of it. I know I needed a lot of life coaching. I went through a lot of counseling, went through a very difficult time in my life. Probably somebody who's been there. And I have several things that we can do there. Sometimes it helps the team to talk about some of these things and support them. Maybe it's a male doctor practice and you don't feel comfortable talking to your female team members about things, or vice versa. And sometimes I can be that bridge. I can be that outside third party who can talk about things and bring things up that no one else can. Sometimes you want to support your team in getting some counseling. Encourage them. I know the first doctor I worked in, the practice I worked in, he encouraged me to get counseling. I didn't want to go because I didn't want to be wrong, but it was one of the best things I ever did. So life coaching, I think everybody needs it at some point in their life. We all have a story. And how are you growing in your story? And part of the purpose of our story is not to remain a victim, but to help someone else heal from that story and help someone else who may be going through that. So I'm looking forward to working with you. There's lots of ways we can do that. We can customize a coaching program that's just for you within your budget. We can do on-site visits, or we cannot do on-site visits. I have teams, I've never been to their practice. We do phone calls, we do video calls, we do lots of messaging. I usually offer unlimited messaging. Materials that I have come with coaching packages. I I also speak for public events, and then I have private events. I usually have a couple of private events a year for team, for doctors in leadership. So, you know what? Give me a call, give me an email, shoot me a text, and let's talk. What's right for you? What are you looking for? What do you need? And what would be the best coaching program for you? Thank you so much for your time. Looking forward to getting to know you. I have clients who've been with me for many years, some of them since I started, and I cherish those relationships. You're my friends, and you coach me sometimes, and I need it. So I appreciate that. Here's my contact information. I look forward to hearing from you soon. Thank you so much.